Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Stephen Interviews You. This is episode number 8. And this is a series where I have a good chat with a special guest. I ask them basic questions. And these special guests are, introduce yourselves.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm Jeff from the Cavalier Connection.
Yep, I'm Jay, Cavalier Connection.
Yeah, welcome to the show, guys. And let's just get right to it. So, what basically inspired you guys to start making YouTube videos in general? What was the moment, or what was the thing that got you motivated to start making videos?
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
Any
So
order?
yeah, pretty much Jay and I lifelong Virginia sports fans, and so um, Jay really wanted to do a podcast of some sort, and he was talking about a gambling podcast, and if you go on Twitter, there's an account called something like the heavy what's it called, Jay?
Heavy favorites.
The heavy favorites, and he was taking a shot at me and my heaviness, but I was like, Jay, I can't let my picks get out there, and people are going to lose money off of me. So we were trying to come up with something, and we've been lifelong Virginia sports fans, so it's something we're passionate about, and you know the there's been plenty of misery in our time too, so we could get it all out. What's your thoughts, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of started as a therapy session.
That's
We
it.
were already having the conversations, and as Jeff said, we I'd been wanting to have something. We've been talking about doing something, whether it be a business or something forever. I mean, we like I've said on our show, I don't think we probably don't have any life memory where we don't know each other. We were
Yeah.
raised in the church together, and like pretty much from the nursery on up to today, we've been friends. So when he said Virginia, it was like, oh yeah, we do know Virginia, and we don't have Jack with us tonight, but Jack had a little bit more of the know-how at the beginning of the show. I think, Jeff's does a great job as the host now, when Jack's not able to join us. But we picked it up, and I go back and I see some of the beginning podcasts, and I kind of shake my head, but we still have a long way to go, but we've come a long way.
Yeah. So when it comes to the Cavalier Connection podcast, when it comes to making videos for that channel, what is it when it comes to the thought process when you come up with a topic for a video? Is there any planning involved?
Take it, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for us, it's pretty obvious, and we really do, I think, a good job of tag teaming this. We schedule a lot of interviews with players, and that's the meat of our content, and that's where we've probably seen the most growth. And so, doing the background on those players, and then um, when we're not interviewing players, we were talking off air, but it's such a busy time. There's so much to talk about with the transfer portal and coaching changes and things like that. I mean, the shows kind of write themselves, but we do have a doc that we follow, and we make sure we kind of stay on track with that. But Jeff.
Yeah, no, pretty much what's going on in Virginia sports world is what dictates our content. And then, like Jay said, getting guests on has been our most success and our most views. You get an athlete on, and we might have, shoot, we even had, I think Elijah Saunders had over 1,000 views, and
Yeah.
then we get Jeff and Jay, and we got 40 views. So we know that the content from the players is going to bring it to us. So.
Yeah. So when it comes to University of Virginia sports, um, basically, what is the culture like in Charlottesville, Virginia, when it comes to both game day and other days? What is it like in Charlottesville?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to you when we were talking last week. Virginia's known as the wine and cheese university. And you know, uh, so Jay and I, we had season tickets to football back when we were teenagers, and the stadium used to be sold out, and we played a lot of big teams, and it was a fun environment, no question. And so we're hoping to get back to those days. The stadium now is on a big night, big game, 3/4 full. And but that's kind of the. Would you agree, Jay? Culture at Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's not great for football. And they're doing a lot of things. One of the guys that we're interviewing is like one of the marketing guys for the football department later on in the summer to hear about all the new changes that they're implementing this year to try to bring back the fans. Winning will solve those problems. I think that's the biggest thing is we haven't been very successful on the field for quite some time. Basketball attendance is great. The atmosphere is, really good. Baseball attendance is great. Atmosphere is really good. But football is the driver. If you want to know about what other people think, I would say, if you Google like Colin Cowherd's UVA football take, he did a bit on Virginia football and wine and cheese, and it was pretty good. Even as a Virginia fan, I had to laugh at it, but it's well worth the YouTube search.
So you mentioned about University of Virginia football that's had, good years, not so good years, but let's focus on the positive. In your guys' opinions, what are some of the best years in UVA football?
Well, I mean, like Jeff said, we had season tickets when we were teenagers, and the first year we had season tickets, I got to give a shout out to our guy Butch Dunlow. He was one of our youth pastors at church. He would take us and his son to the games, and I want to say we had our first season tickets in '95, which was not a full season ticket. It was called Who's on the Hill. And I think for $30, you got into every game but Florida State, maybe.
And Florida State and Virginia Tech.
Florida State and Virginia Tech. And so we were not there that night in people watching, Virginia in 1995, the first team to beat Florida State on last second play. Warwick Dunn gets stopped. I'm still not sure if he scored. If you ask our friend over at Plant the Spear, Jesse, he would probably say he might have scored, but we're going to say he didn't.
The officials said no
touchdown. That 95 season, we went to the Peach Bowl. Jeff and I did with Butch and his son. And then in 98, we went back to the Peach Bowl. And those two trips stand out to me. But me and Jeff, we traveled all over the ACC.
Yeah.
Any trips do you stand out, Jeff?
Yeah, no. The Florida State game is obviously, and unfortunately, we weren't at that game. But I was bouncing around my living room like a lunatic because that's the first time Florida State was beaten in the ACC, and they had been in the conference at that point, 6 years, maybe 7 years,
long time,
and had never lost a game. And so it was a Thursday night football game at that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the sports programs of UVA, both football and basketball, where do you guys see it going with both their programs? Because there's talent, recruiting, transfer portal. What is it that the football team should be doing more of when it comes to that recruiting?
Well, I was gonna say, I think that we're heading in the right direction. They had an anonymous donor donate a large sum of money to the football program. And Virginia and Coach Elliott spent that money this offseason. I believe he spent it well, but we'll find out when they take the field. Hopefully he spent it well. I think the football program is moving in the right direction. I think that this season will tell the story for Coach Elliott, because if they don't have a somewhat level of success, I don't know that he will be back. I don't know. But I think they're heading in the right direction. And basketball, I don't know if you want to talk about that one, Jay, or.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just say on football, one of the big things, we just opened up this year the first football-only facility at the university, which a lot of universities have had since the 80s and 90s, and we're finally there. So we got to play a lot of catch-up when it comes to facilities for the football team, but I think they've done that, and now hopefully you start to reap those benefits. As far as basketball goes, after we won the national championship in 2019, Coach Bennett, we didn't have a lot of success. The next year was COVID. We had some of the main guys, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, Kyle Guy, they all could have returned and tried to repeat, but they decided to leave with the championship and go pro, which, totally support that. We were good in 2020, but then that was the COVID year. And then after that, we had a tournament game. We made the tournament a couple of times, but Coach Bennett just wasn't able to quite hit have the success that he had up to the championship year. Coach Odom has got a lot of energy. I'm hearing nothing but good things from Coach Odom. I love the portal / European class that he's brought in. I mean, Tice DeRitter just announced yesterday that he was committed. Still working through eligibility with him, but he's a 22-year-old that played in the top league in Europe and averaged 9.5 a game over there, playing against Virginia alums like Mike Tobey, Justin Anderson, I believe he might have played against, Jaden Gardner possibly. And then we have a 7-footer from Germany, Johann Grunlow, another big get. And Odom really built a roster that can beat you in a number of ways. I mean, he brought in some elite shooters to go with Malik Thomas, who's just a scorer, walking bucket. Averaged 20 a game in the West Coast Conference. So, I mean, he can play. So I'm very hopeful. I think this is a team that can make a deep run as long as everything gels. And it seems like personality-wise, they're all getting along really well right now.
Yeah, so my next question would be the ACC as a conference. University of Virginia has played in the ACC for all sports for a long time now. But in your guys' opinion, how do you feel about playing in the ACC? Where do you think the ACC is going as a conference?
Well, I mean, for me, I'll start with this one, Jeff. I love the ACC, but I love kind of like the old ACC. I think I'm a dinosaur in this respect. I would love it to go back to 8 and just have, Virginia and North Carolina and Duke. And then, you have those matchups where you play them twice a year, every year. Football, you play every team in the conference every year. The way it is now, I get it. There's too much money involved to not do it the way that they're doing it. And, it is hard to compete as an ACC school against the SEC and the Big Ten. We just don't have the money from the TV deals coming in that they do. So realignment, I don't think is done. I think UVA's got a very desirable television market, which is, I think, that will drive us to ultimately leave the ACC. But we'll see. It's a changing, it's changing every day.
Yeah, I think we're heading into two major conferences, and the ACC is not going to be one of those. It's going to be SEC, Big Ten, and they maybe have different names, but I don't see the ACC surviving much longer.
Mm-hmm. So with that, the ACC in recent times, there was that issue between the ACC and Florida State and Clemson. They had those legal issues. It was well reported. As an outsider, because University of Virginia was just watching on the sidelines about that. What are your takes on that, both of you guys? What are your takes on what happened there?
It's all money. And then, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, the Florida State, I think they were upset because they didn't get in the national title game when the quarterback got hurt. And they were
Jordan Matthews, maybe, or Jordan Travis.
Travis, that's it. Yep. And it was, strength of schedule and that kind of deal. And that's why they didn't get in. So I think that played a role. But money ultimately plays a role.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to money. Again, I probably sound like a dinosaur, but you sign a contract, you kind of stuck. I don't think contracts are honored anymore anywhere in any situation. It's like, we signed a bad contract as the ACC schools collectively, and now we're paying for it. And hopefully, when the media rights are back up in whatever year that is, if there's still an ACC standing, Hopefully they'll make a better deal for themselves. But
Yeah. So uh, sticking with college football, the college football playoff. This is like a good topic to segue into. Um, you've been hearing things about which format we should go with automatic qualifiers, or should we just go with 5+11 format? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Which format should ultimately we should go with when it comes to the college football playoff?
I mean, I guess I can start, Jeff. For me, I like more teams, but I would probably I'd probably go maybe 14 and two bye. I don't know how you could work it out. I would say the SEC champion and the Big Ten champion get a bye. And then everybody else is, there's no other seeding other than 3 versus 14 or whatever that would end up, being. If they did 16 and did one, it's traditional 1 versus 16, plays the 8-9 winner, that type thing, that would be okay too. But I'm not sure. As a Virginia football fan, I hope it's something we have to worry about. But historically, it's just, how many games am I going to get to watch on television? So,
as a Virginia football fan, we need more teams in.
Yeah.
For me, I just say make it like 8 teams, but because 16 seed is not going to be a 1 seed, or are they? Is that basketball? But
how appropriate.
Yeah. I mean, as a Virginia fan, we need it to be more teams. So, but
I make it 32.
We might have to go to 64 to get into this situation. But I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, I'm good with 16. That'd be fine. It's something like Jay said. I hate to say it, but we just have never had any concerns about it because we haven't sniffed it at all.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the football field and rivalries, because this is one question I wanted to ask. When it comes to UVA and their rivals, which schools do you guys consider to be rivals for the University of Virginia, and what memories do you guys have of those games in particular?
Well, and we know Virginia Tech is our top rival, and unfortunately, we have not had much success against Virginia Tech in football in quite some time. And I would consider UNC maybe the next team in line from, I guess that started back in the early 80s. They call it the South's oldest rivalry.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I think Virginia Tech, for sure, for me. I don't care what we're playing. I've got 2 favorite teams in every sport, and that's Virginia and whoever's playing Tech. Tiddlywinks. It don't matter to me. I can't stand them. But the 2019 football game that stands out, the 03 football game, which would have been the time we beat them before that. Big time.
The last time we beat them at Virginia Tech stands out for me.
Yes,
as we
were at that stadium.
Yep,
and that was our one and only trip to Lane Stadium.
Yeah, it's gonna be my last one. I don't want any parts of that place.
Now, as far as basketball, to me, Jeff, and I don't know how you feel, but the first ACC tournament title under Bennett when we beat Duke, that was Duke in basketball. Big rival. Duke and Carolina, both. I think Carolina ultimately probably would be ranked as our second biggest rival, but right there with them in basketball would be Duke for sure.
We had those
we've
battles.
had some really good battles.
We did, yep, in the Bennett era.
Yeah.
So when it comes to coaches and sticking to college football here, Tony Elliott, he's been coaching UVA for a couple years. What are your guys' thoughts on Tony Elliott? And also other head coaches that you've seen, manage the teams for UVA.
I mean,
Well,
we've had we've had a little bit of interaction with Coach Elliott just in the limited time we've had press passes last year. I'm not going to speak for Jeff. I like Coach Elliott a lot as a human. I think he took over the program at a time that was not ideal. He was hired late. So that first recruiting class, he had no opportunity. I mean, he really had no chance to land anybody. And then after his first or during, his first year on the job, we had the tragic shooting where we had, 3 of our football players were killed in a shooting on campus. And so he led the team through that better than I think anybody else could have. So I commend him a lot for that. But imagine trying to recruit young high school athletes to come to your school, and you're not just recruiting kids, you're recruiting parents and convincing those parents that you can keep their children safe, after you just had that type of thing happen on campus. So he was really behind the 8 ball. I think since that time, he has done an outstanding job. Now, the transfer portal was great to us. We're starting to make inroads with the state of Virginia. And if we can recruit in Virginia, we can win a lot of games. But favorite coach of all time, George Welsh. I'll let Jeff talk about him.
hey, I'll say favorite coach is George Welsh, R.I.P. No, George Welsh was a good one, and he got Virginia football on the map. So came in from Naval Academy, and Virginia was a joke of a football program. And like Jay said, we were traveling to bowl games and watching them play Georgia, and we saw them play Auburn and Texas and Michigan, and they the first team to beat Florida State, and he put a ton of guys in the NFL. So George Welsh is the man, and always will be for me.
Fun fact about that Peach Bowl, Jeff, is do you remember who the starting quarterback was for Georgia? And I think the 98 game. It was one of the two, but
man, Jay, I'm old.
Hines Ward,
Was it?
receiver, was the quarterback.
Man, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, so let's see here. Oh, yeah, so the state of Virginia. We talked about the rivals for University of Virginia. The other schools, because I follow the Group of 6 conferences. I follow the Ohio Bobcats, but there's also like G6 schools in the state of Virginia as well. What do you guys think of these other schools, such as James Madison, Old Dominion, those schools?
Yeah, well, Jay and I, of course, we're Old Dominion fans. We went to school at ODU.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just couldn't get into Virginia, but I'm an ODU fan. My sister actually went to JMU. I don't particularly pull for them. I don't have anything against them, but VCU would be the one school that and funny enough, that's where our new basketball coach came from. But he got his start as a ball boy at UVA when he was a kid, so he gets a pass. But VCU would be like the one that I just really have a hard time pulling for. Anybody else I pull for in the state.
Yeah, I mean, same. Big ODU fans because we went there. A lot of good memories there. They didn't have football when we were there, so that came after us. We did do college for a weekend at Liberty when Jeff was a senior. Jeff was a senior. I was a junior. And so we took a visit to Liberty, and at that time you had to wear a tie to class, and you couldn't have a TV in your dorm room. So we
canceled that one for us.
Yeah. So we that's why we ended up at ODU.
Well, going back to college football, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but more of a broad question. Where do you guys see college football and college sports in general headed, following things like the house settlements and other things going on, like the transfer portal and NIL and all that?
Yes.
Well, I hope it'll settle down. I hope we can settle into, as much as it's fun for us and it gives us content to talk about when we're turning over the entire roster. You do lose that aspect of having a relationship, whether it be in, a real relationship or just, hey, I've watched this young man play for, 2, 3, 4 years. You lose that. So like, when we go to the opener against Coastal Carolina on August 30th, we're going to have to be reading the numbers and the players just like everybody else, because it's just the roster is turned over.
Yep. You can't get to know the guys at all.
Yeah. So I've had this I've had this thing when I talk about, stuff like this, it's just it makes me wonder where college football and college sports are headed. And it gives me, a great pause. So just for me to ask you guys this. So yeah. Um, next question. Take me through the campus of Charlottesville, Virginia. What are some good places to go to when it comes to like tailgating or just to get a bite to eat? Just any sort of like entertainment kind of things that you could experience there at Charlottesville.
You got to go to Mincer's. They've been there since 1948.
Yep.
And Mincer's is a apparel UVA apparel shop. Jay and I went there when we were teenagers, and we were like, it was like kind of like heaven to us. I'm like, oh my god, like anything, any hat, any jersey, any shirt, anything you could think of, they've got it. So that's like a staple in Charlottesville. And I mean, Jay, you might want at the corner, and they have
I
two
was going to say
locations.
that the corner in general,
Yeah.
For those that aren't familiar with the recruit or the tailgating at UVA, it's kind of spread out a little bit. That's one of the complaints, I guess, of a lot of the fan base, is that it's not like Jeff and I at one point had season tickets to the Commanders, and that's just a big circle parking lot. As far as you can see, it's just tailgaters everywhere. Whereas Virginia is not like that. There is some tailgating around the stadium, but it's more spread out. And so, you get pockets of places that people will go, and people have relationships. We got to meet a bunch of tailgaters last year. We did a giveaway with the season opener, where we just went tailgate to tailgate and got people's emails, and they were entered to win a raffle from Mincer's, a gift basket. It had a great selection of stuff in it. And so we got to visit a lot of different tailgates. I mean, Virginia fans are great people. I'll say that. You're going to be treated well at Virginia. Jeff and I have been all over the ACC, and I'm sure we're a little bit biased, but the Virginia fans in general, when you come in as a guest, you're not going to be treated poorly like in some places.
Yeah, so Scott Stadium, I've checked it out. It looks like a beautiful place to see a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, just getting the idea of what it's like there in Charlottesville, it clues me in on what to expect there. So yeah, that's nice. So back to the Cavalier Connection podcast. Have you guys had the chance to like collaborate with other college sports YouTubers? And if so, what were those experiences like?
Yeah, so we're part of the. I'm sorry, Jay. I don't know. You were probably going to say it. The college huddle.
I'm let you take it away.
No, we're part of a group called the College Huddle, and they actually have representatives from, I don't know the number now, but it's
in the 80s maybe,
schools in the country. They're the official podcast of that school, and so it's been pretty cool because we've got to meet a lot of people from that, and we've done collabs with several of those schools or those podcasts. Virginia's playing Florida State, for example. Like Jay was mentioning earlier, they Plant the Spear. That's the podcast from the College Huddle. And Jesse, we get on with Jesse. We and we talk about the game coming up, or so that's been a great experience for us.
Yeah, it's really a small world when you start to collaborate with people. The BYU podcast, for instance. I'm in the Williamsburg area, in between Richmond and Williamsburg, a little town called West Point. But my son goes to a dojo out in Williamsburg, and of all the teams, the BYU podcast, the guy lives in Williamsburg, and his kid goes to the same dojo as my kid. So it's just a small world when it comes to that. And we're we reach out to the other. I feel like sometimes people are look at other podcasts as competition, and I know Jeff and I don't. We consume, I consume, and I think Jeff does too. Anything Virginia related, I consume it. Like, we follow Jackie Franchuli at Wahoo's 247, Preston Willett at the Saber, Ball Hawk, and his podcast, Hootie or Jerry Ratcliffe from his podcast. I mean, we love all those guys, and I'm sure there's some I'm leaving out, Jeff, but and we've had almost all of them on our show. And so we're just Virginia fans that we say we're a podcast, by the fans for the fans.
Yeah. So next question I was going to ask is, when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to making YouTube videos, even though you guys are still new to this, what advice would you give anybody who wanted to start their own YouTube channel and make their own content? What advice would you give them?
You just got to post on social media, and Jay does this so well. I don't think he works a regular job, because he's posting all day. And I don't know, he might have some kind of income source coming from this I don't know about, because I don't even know how he has the time, but he is constantly out there putting, posting comments or replying to people, or, sharing a story, and people start following you. They start following you. And next thing you know, sometimes they think we're subject matter experts. I don't know if I'm an expert. I'm just a fan, but we get stuff from high school athletes send us we've had tape sent to us. We've had, they send us their statistics in high school and stuff like that. Like they're trying to get their stuff out there.
Yeah.
And my suggestion is, you just gotta, as much as you can put out, you got to put it out there.
Yeah. And I would say you got to start somewhere. Like, you don't start with 500 followers. I mean, we are on YouTube 359 as of this recording. And we value every single one of those, because, when we started, we were getting 15 views, and that was my mom and Jeff's dad and Jeff's parents and brothers and sisters and cousins and coworkers, and that was it. But that's where you got to start. Me and Jeff, well, we say we're nobodies. That we took our passion and kind of turned it into something more. Where it's funny. Yesterday we had a young man commit to Virginia, and they always put out the tweets of that they're committed to what school, and he tagged several of the UVA coaches, and he tagged us, which I thought, is really cool. And it's not the first time this happened, but, the fact that they think of us in that way, when, 2 years ago, this was just a thought. We started in November of 23, and to being in the press box at football games last year, it
Now,
was
Jay,
something.
I don't like being called a nobody. Now Jay, he didn't work his way to the spring game this year, but Jack and myself were there, and we're sitting there, and here comes somebody down there and shakes my hand and says, "We love the Cavalier Connection." And I ran into multiple people that actually recognized us. I was like, "What the heck?" So you might be a nobody, but I ain't nobody. Oh man.
So lastly, I think I will wrap it up with this question. with your channel, the Cavalier Connection Podcast, what are you guys planning on doing going forward in the future when it comes to future videos? Any like interesting projects you might want to venture into?
Yeah, Jace looking to go full time.
I wish. No, I don't know about. I mean, Jeff might have been about to say this, but we were talking today, and it was like Jeff was like, "Man, I'm getting confused, like who we have what day, because the calendar is just filling up with guests." And so I was like, "Well, download Google Calendar." I don't even know if there is such thing. It turns out there is. So I downloaded the app, and then we just started putting in our interviews into the Google Calendar to keep it straight. But we were talking earlier, and I think plans just for the channel and for our website. We've got some things that are coming, we hope, but it's all a learning process for us. So we have ideas, and then sometimes they're good ideas, and then sometimes it's like, oh, hold on a second. Maybe we bit off more than we could chew with that. But it's just been a lot of fun, and it gives me a reason to talk to Jeff and Jack on a pretty much daily basis. So it's good times.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, we'll wrap it up with that. And just in closing here, it always gives me joy to hear from different perspectives, to hear from different schools and fans of different teams, because it gives me a better idea of what's going on across the country. So when I can hear you guys talk about UVA sports, it makes me think, it's a great community of college sports fans. So anyway, guys, for those of you watching this, I will provide a link to the Cavalier Connection podcast down below in the description box for you guys to check out. Please check out the Cavalier Connection podcast. Jay, Jeff, and company. They do such great work. They make great content. Check them out, and please subscribe to them. Thank you guys so much for checking out Steven Interviews You. This was episode number 8, and we'll be back shortly with more interview content. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Steven.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yep, have a good one.